Good evening, everyone. This is your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast, and we got some stuff to get into this week. Question number one: what the hell is going on with Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton? They are off the rails, and we are going to talk about it. It has been going on since SmackDown, and hell, even before just coming on the air here, there is more fuel being added to the fire. So we're going to talk about Charlotte. We're going to talk about Tiffany and what's going on there. We'll talk about AEW Dynasty from this past week. A very divided show as far as like people's reactions to the undercard and then their feelings on the main event and just what exactly is going on in AEW these days. All that and so much more. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Old Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Old Belt, 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 Big Old Belt. All I really want is that Big Old Belt, 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 Big Old Belt. All I really need that Big Old Belt.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being with us here tonight on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. This is our Season 5, Episode 10 edition. Got the two-man power trip this week. I got Davey and G down in the Lone Star State with me. I am Will on the right side of your screen outside the district. And this is going to be a show. This is going to be a very interesting show because it's been a while since we've had a off-the-rails drama like this, where the lines it's not even so much the lines are being blurred. I would say it's more of a case of the lines are like the lines of communication are clearly falling apart. Things are off the rails, and it's like, and a lot of people want to call it a shoot. I don't think it's so much a shoot. It's more like these girls don't seem to be talking to each other, and the scripts aren't. I don't know. Things are just not working here. Something's weird's going on, and we're going to get into it tonight. So we almost got into this last week. We ran out of time. There was just too much going on last week. So the topic is Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton and their upcoming match at WrestleMania.
Right.
This has been a very odd situation since Charlotte won the Royal Rumble, returned, won the Rumble. Bit of an odd reception there. It definitely didn't go, I think, incredibly smooth. Seemed to return as a baby face, trying to do the whole coming back from a knee injury and all that. And kind of a rocky reception. And then we build a week or two to her naming Tiffany, which we kind of all figured with the idea of like, okay, she's going to go after like, the anointed, the younger version of her that's there now with the similar, style match and all this and the similar wrestler. And of course, they're both blonde and all that. So easy parallels there than just doing her and Rhea again when Rhea was champ at the time.
Right.
So we go that route. We set up her and Tiffany. And ever since they've set up that match, I think this would be a very light way of putting it. Things just aren't clicking.
No.
They are not clicking between these two. The match feels cold. They've had odd promos together. And things are not jiving with these two. And before we get to SmackDown, I guess we should talk about what we were almost going to talk about last week was Charlotte appearing on Sherry Shepherd's talk show, which happened last week prior to SmackDown. And this was interesting because it was definitely Charlotte in a different light. It was Charlotte talking about her recent divorce from Andrade, talking about how that was a hard deal for her and not wanting to be compared to her father and all of his failed marriages and just kind of putting herself out there with just, the regards to everything that's been going on in her personal life these days. And then we get to SmackDown and very strange promo between her and Tiffany that got into personal matters that brings Tiffany brought up with the Sherry Shepherd talk show and just how it was weird. And the crowd was not having Charlotte at all. At all. And God, I don't know. Damien, I'm going to let you get in here because I've been talking for a while. Where to even start? Because this is spanning a couple months now. And it's like snowballing. It's almost like it's gone off the rails and it ain't getting any better. It's just snowballing into more and more of a mess at this point, it feels like.
So I'm going to go all the way back to the Rumble. and say that, again, the wrong person won. Because as much as they telegraphed her winning with the pomp and circumstance and the celebratory things of that nature, they forgot that in wrestling, it's not just what you do in the ring, it's also what you do on the mic. And no amount of wrestling training on the mat can prepare you for a hostile crowd once you get on the microphone. And that's never been Charlotte's strong point. Her strong point has been her athleticism and her ability to antagonize a crowd just because she's Charlotte. So that was the first mistake back at the Royal Rumble. She wasn't ready. She was still rusty, but they anointed her because Mama's back. Okay, great. Then we have the Tiffy promo, which still it's irksome to this day. Like, just the thought of it's making my skin crawl because it just seemed forced. It seemed that it was coming from a place of trying to be petty, but it wasn't landing. Like, she was trying to be catty. And typically when Charlotte, going back to what happened with Becky, she can get catty and bratty. So right there, that's 0 for 2. Now, I want to go back and refresh my memory really quick, Will. Was Charlotte's first match back, official wrestling match, was it against B-Fab?
Ooh, as far as like not the Royal Rumble, it might be. You might be right. And Lord knows that was, I'll check. But that was, the B-Fab match was rough. It was not a case of, it was not the case of the veteran holding up and helping the clearly, younger talent, but more inexperienced talent. It was more of a case of, this is your sink or swim chance, and if you sink, I'm gonna let you sink.
Right.
It was very, very odd match. I'm gonna look that up while you're talking here.
And watching that, whatever match that was, that didn't go. That went completely not how it was supposed to go. Charlotte won, but it was kind of janky. Yes. So right there, we have 3 moments where she has shown, at least in my opinion, that she was not ready for Mania before we even get to the promo from last Friday. She was not ready for a Chicago crowd. If this would have been Des Moines, Iowa, she would have been fine. If this would have been Bismarck, North Dakota, she would have been great. But the fact that we're in CM Punk country, i.e. Chicago, which is a notorious, we're going to boo you out the building. It doesn't matter how good you are in the ring. If we don't like you, we don't like you.
Yeah.
So
I'll let you know.
putting her there and seeing her get flustered. Oh, and also, as you said, trying to bring her back initially as that Triple H returning from injury face.
Right.
When he blew out his quad. It's not Charlotte. So the whole promo's leading up to it, and then this promo. This reminded me so much of the Becky Lynch belt swap, because Charlotte, when she doesn't have footing, will resort to just trying to stir up something to get people interested and talking. Because when they had that match, remember, everybody thought they were going to start shooting on each other during the match, and it wound up being a top-tier match. So this isn't new for Charlotte to stir up some controversy just to get people interested in her match. But again, this is wrong. I feel like this is all going wrong. And WWE is not doing her any favors, because they should have pulled the ripcord on this a long time ago when the first promo didn't land. You know what I would have done? I would have said, okay, Rhea loses to Io. Io faces Bianca. Charlotte, fine. You want to put her against Tiffany? That's fine. But you put Rhea in to make it a triple threat, just in case Charlotte can't.
Oh, okay. So do the triple threat on SmackDown instead of doing the triple threat on Raw.
Correct.
That's not a bad idea.
Because it would have covered any weaknesses that Charlotte had, either ring rust wise or otherwise. And then we don't know how Tiffany's going to act on the grandest stage of them all, being that this is her first WrestleMania. So in summation, there is a lot of off the rails that started way back in the Rumble. And because it's Charlotte Flair, they didn't pull the ripcord. Because I guarantee you, had this been somebody else, let's say Io Sky. Let's say Io.
Okay.
If Io would have had train wreck promos with Tiffany, you really think they would have let it go and said, you know what, we're going to let this ride? No, they would have pulled the plug and done some shenanigans to either make it a triple threat or to get EO out of there.
There'd be some pivoting.
There'd be a pivot. And that's the problem. They should have pivoted a while ago, and now we're going down the roller coaster ramp and we can't stop. So we're stuck with a train wreck.
Oh my God. Okay, first things first. Cupcake is here tonight. Always good to see Cupcake over on YouTube. One of our regular viewers. Good to see you here with us tonight on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. I checked the records here, and you are correct.
Yeah.
The match with BFAB was the first match after the Royal Rumble, her first singles match. They went 8:20 on SmackDown. That is a long time for BFAB to be out there. And then after that, she had 2 matches with Piper Niven, and then a match with Michin is what she's had. So she's only had 4 matches outside of the Rumble since returning. So who knows if there's time being spent, in the PC. But as far as on TV, there has not been a lot of time for Charlotte in the ring.
And
now,
also, there haven't been, real quick, there haven't been promos with those matches. So again, we're working on the in-ring portion, which she was known for, but we're still missing that other piece.
Yeah. I agree on the comparison to Triple H returning from the quad tear. And this is definitely, they might have thought it would be that, or people would embrace her like that, but it ain't happening. It just is not happening. And for whatever reason, the majority of the crowd seems to have their mind made up. And I don't know if it's, and I'm curious if the idea of that whole Sherry Shepherd interview was like, well, if we put her on here, let her talk from the heart. Because that was definitely a sympathetic interview. They're trying to put out there, Charlotte's real life, her personal issues she's had going on and all this, relationship with her dad. I mean, the Sherry Shepherd interview was clearly a babyface promo. That was Ashley. That was not Charlotte.
That would have been my question. Was it Ashley? Yeah.
It very much was Ashley. It was very much Ashley. Because she's talking about her real life. She's talking about her divorce and all this. Now that gets interesting because before we went on the air tonight, let me pull this up here. We have a tweet that just went out tonight. So just 2 hours ago, 6:01 Eastern. I will read this on Miss Charlotte Flair's Twitter account, or X these days. Quote, after being blindsided by my personal trauma on live television, my character said something on air that was not true, and I'd like to take this opportunity to clear the air. I should have never called the Chicago fans smart. I sincerely apologize. End quote. So very snarky.
Yes.
The part with my character said that is really odd. A strange bit of phrasing there where she's acknowledging character. So is this supposed to be Ashley? Is she trying to do some deal here where it's like no, her account says Charlotte Flair. So it's not even one of those where like, some of the accounts, have their real names on there. Not the case here. It's definitely Charlotte Flair's screen name and at Miss Charlotte Flair handle. But yeah, it just feels like, I don't know, what do you think's going on here? What is Charlotte trying to pull here? You think she has some kind of angle? Some idea here that's like, well, if I'm trying to bring my real life to it, but I don't know.
And she's still not the baby face in this whole thing. Even if she does do a heartfelt interview with Sherry Shepherd, even if she says, my character said some things, not me, the crowd still doesn't care. And what's one of the things in wrestling that it's sink or swim when you sink? Apathy. If the crowd is apathetic to you, and we talk about go away heat all the time, right? And the X-Pac heat, go away heat, all that good stuff. We have entered an era of Charlotte where nothing she does, in my opinion, will be good enough for the main IWC. Nothing. Exactly. Girl, bye. Cupcake said it best. Girl, bye.
That is definitely a sentiment that seems to be out there.
And I feel that, and I'll say this. Crab had mentioned backstage, he's not here today, but he mentioned backstage, if not Charlotte, then who, right? That's a good point. I'm making all these negatives about Charlotte, and the only idea I could come up with off the top of my head was bringing Rhea from Raw over to SmackDown.
Mhm.
So this hurts Tiffany more than anything, at the very least. Charlotte's been hated for a while. Charlotte has had a lot of naysayers and boo and go away for a long while. What this does is it's hurting Tiffany because she's got a dance partner, and you said it, and you can go more into it. They're not dancing properly. They are clumsy. They are bumping into furniture with one another. They're not communicating. You could tell that there is no chemistry between these two, not even on the mic. And I'm worried because Tiffany, like you said, is an athletic marvel, sort of like Charlotte 2.0. If Charlotte's not back to her pre-surgery self or 80% of that, the match is going to suffer. And who gets blamed? Tiffany. Why? Because she's the young gun, and you expect the vet, like you said, to carry the dance partner a little bit when stuff gets wonky. But if she's still rusty, Charlotte's still rusty physically, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
I'm prepared for a train wreck.
Yeah, I think the thing that jumps out at me thinking back even first, we've been so much focus on Charlotte at the Rumble. Tiffany going into this, her winning the title from Nia via cash-in was done as like a face turn. Because remember, she was Nia's like underling. She had the briefcase, and it was clearly set up as like she's gonna cross Nia and get the title. And Lord knows, people love a cash-in. So the cast, it's like they're on the wrong spots. It's like, I think in their head, it was like, well, we do that. We make her champ. Tiffany has the belt, and people will be into that. But then I guess they're thinking it was just Charlotte returns, and because of the injury, Charlotte will be able to be the babyface, and people will rally behind her. And it just hasn't gone down like that. For whatever reason, it just hasn't. I don't know if it was, she was gone a year. Charlotte was gone like for a full. So it's not like it was just a couple months. That knee injury had her out for quite a while, and I think most of the time people come back from an injury, they're a fresh face again, and it works like that. For whatever reason, folks are stuck in their ways here, and they have dug their heels in on Charlotte, and just for whatever reason, there's a lot of folks that are not willing to deviate from not being into her, and for whatever reason, they're not going, okay, well, fine then, let's ride that. They're kind of riding it with these comments about Chicago and all this, but they don't have Charlotte going all the way with it. Like that's the thing. It's like she's kind of acting a heel now, but she's still trying to play to the crowd. And God, in Chicago, when that crowd did not go along with her, you could tell it threw her off her game. It was just what the heck? And then she tried to do that whole thing with Tiffany's Tiffany's squeaky voice, and just fell flat and just came across so awkward and cringy. It was like, girl, no. And then we have Tiffany fires back with the whole, bringing up the divorce and throwing that in there. And then Charlotte fires back with the final line that people were saying wasn't planned a part of the thing, with the whole, oh my God.
Ludwig's in my DMs.
Ludwig's in my DMs. Kaiser's in my DMs. Bringing up the real life boyfriend of Tiffany Stratton. So I'll say this. Last week we were talking about, we talked about where they were, how they'd gotten a lot of these WrestleMania matches hot. The triple threat with Seth and CM Punk and Roman Reigns is hot now. They heated that up with the Paul Heyman factor. Yeah. Cena and Cody got hot because we had some physicality there. And then the what's the match I'm missing? Jey Uso and Gunther got hot because we had the big beat down and the blood and all that. And we said last week, that damn Tiffany and Charlotte match, it needs something. Well, it still don't got quite what it needs, but I will give it this. It's so much of a mess now. It does have me more interested, but now it's like you were saying, I'm preparing for a train wreck. It's like, if anything, it's like, I'm curious to see how are these two going to get on, and maybe come match time, the bell will ring and it will click and they'll have a banger, and which, hey, don't count those two out unless Charlotte, just can't go like she could before. But Lord knows, there's, like you mentioned, there's been plenty that her and Becky having just their game time for their matches at Evolution. It wasn't there one at Survivor Series or something.
Survivor Series,
yeah. Where it came time, and all of a sudden the pieces fell into place and took off. and it flew. Maybe that'll happen with Tiffany and Charlotte once we get there. But man, this road has been bumpy. This is by far the bumpiest WrestleMania build out of anything on the show.
And that's another thing for us. It's the fact that we talked about this, where the time between the Rumble and Mania was going to be so long, and we were saying, hey, what are we going to do to fill this time to make people still interested in WrestleMania? And we're at the point now, like you said, with a couple of exceptions where they're heating things up, the rest of it's kind of ho-hum. I can't remember in my recent memory this much lukewarm appeal towards a WrestleMania, and it includes Cena, it includes Cody, Charlotte. What's going on? Where nobody is really talking about Mania. People I'm talking to about wrestling, they're more interested in NXT than they are in WrestleMania. And that seems to be gaining steam because of the people that are involved with NXT. But you also mentioned Jay and Gunther, and we can even talk about that. Jay is doing his best with what he's given, right? Mm-hmm. The writers, whoever's writing for Charlotte, whoever's writing for Tiffany, who was ever writing for Jay before all this, what are you doing? Like, do you not understand your talent and know what their strengths are if you're a head writer or people in the writer's room? Because I know the old man would have tore everything up and thrown it out and started from scratch when it comes to the writing. So this Mania, for me at the very least, and I'll be in Vegas, I'm not even interested in getting a same-day ticket at a discounted rate with the way this build is. Shoot, Damian Priest and Eye Patch Drew is probably a better match for me to watch right now, my name notwithstanding, than the Charlotte Tiffy match. Shoot, Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio is a way better match built for me than Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton.
Man, yeah, we have SmackDown tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. We have Raw next Monday, and then we're there. At that point, we are there because SmackDown, will be like having the undercard matches for Mania weekend next week. So, God, tomorrow night on SmackDown, this is really like sink or swim. This is it. They got to come up with something. And I can't imagine the past week that, we all talk about if they went off script or not. I don't know if they did or not. Lord knows, I can't imagine they wanted that line in there about Kaiser. Because that's just not, that's not part of the show. It's not part of the deal. And it didn't add anything to it. I mean, I'm sure there's kids out there like, oh, they're shooting. Oh, this is getting real now. And it's just like, I'm too old to care about that crap. I'm more entertained by this is a mess now. These two are having a mess. And that's at least making this interesting in the factor of it's the car crash factor right now, where it's just like, okay, are these two going to get it together? Right. Or is this just going to be a disaster at Mania, where it's just the two are just oil and water and it just doesn't jive? So, yeah, I don't know. How would you handle tomorrow? Would you do another? I almost feel like I don't know about putting the two of them together for a promo.
Not a live promo. It
feels like it's too dangerous.
No, it's way too dangerous. Not a live promo. I would vignette, sit down, old JR style, taped vignettes.
Okay.
If they want to shoot on each other, fine, but at least they're practicing the lines and not in front of a live audience to mess it up any more than they have to. That's number one. Or you take the Gunther Jay route and one of them beats the crap out of the other one. I think Charlotte needs to put the boots to Tiffany like she snapped. She can't take it anymore. She snapped. And she's going to get her title back. And now we get to root against Charlotte because she beat up Tiffy. Throw her against the car like they did Jade. Put her through a car. Something to bring some gravitas to this match, because I even forgot while we're talking that there is a title on the line here.
That's right.
That's the farthest part of my mind right now.
Queen needs her throne back.
It's easy. They could have did the Cena shtick with Charlotte talking about, I want to get to 17 world titles like to beat my dad too. So you're next. That's it. But this whole little Mean Girls thing, it's like, no, give me something. Give me some. I said last week, give me some blood. Give me someone looking like Apollo Creed dying in the middle of the ring. If they die, they die. Something to that ilk. I need something for tomorrow. If not the vignette. But if you're not going to do anything physical, the vignettes have to be taped. You can't do it live.
Here's my thinking. We got 3 hours of SmackDown. Lord knows that's 1 hour too many, but since they got 3 hours, they got time to work with this. I like the idea, do a pre-tape kind of, if you want to have them together, that's fine, but have it be a pre-tape, some sort of interview where they're not in front of the crowd, so you don't have the crowd throwing them off their game and like reacting to stuff. I like that idea. Then in front of the crowd, have some kind of brawl, some sort of something to like get some heat on this.
Yes.
We need something. But yeah, throwing those girls out there with no with no net like they did last week, that does not seem like the plan at all. My God.
In your opinion, what do you think the WWE was thinking in the first place with this? Did in your opinion, did they think that we were just going to go with Charlotte? Hey, you're back. Go get the title.
I from everything, I think that was the thinking. They were thinking it's the Triple H return. She's back from an injury. Folks will be, she's back. She's a familiar face. People will be into her. I think that was the deal. And they just, and some people were into it, but it wasn't that unanimous. Oh, everyone's behind her. And then just the weeks since Mania, it just got worse, and it just got worse, and it just got more and more discontent in the crowd to now where it's like, oh yeah, last week, that damn promo last Friday, it was just so clear that like the crowd threw her off her game. It's not often you see someone clearly like thrown off by the crowd, and it happened last week on SmackDown. So it was like, oh, and once a crowd picks up on that, it's really hard to like, it's like, we got you, we got under your skin. So, I guess not. Okay, now the flip side. Let's flip. You mentioned it earlier. We'll talk about it before we go to break. Jay and Gunther. Oh my God, the promo they did this week. That was we'd had the big bloody angle the week before. We had the physicality there, and we kind of needed, okay, how's Jay Uso gonna answer this? How's he gonna, he's got to sell us on this match. His brother got beat up. Gunther bathed in his blood on Raw, and they found, Jay's promos haven't always been the best.
Right.
But whoever wrote this for him, however this came together, they found the right voice where it was like, okay, I'm gonna talk about family. I'm gonna tell you my brother, talk about my mom calling, talk about let him down, and then just, heaven help me, forgive me for what I am about to do for the man I'm about to become, because I'm gonna take that title from you. And just, it was effective. I thought it was. I'm trying to think of, that has to be the best promo Jay's done. I can't think of another promo at that level. Hell, he even had, he started talking, and the crowd was doing the yeet thing, and you saw him kind of like with his hand, like, go Charlotte, not now. This ain't the time.
This ain't about that.
This is serious business time. And the folks got the message to like lay off it. You only had like a few people doing it, and he's got that crowd behind him. I don't know. Your thoughts on that promo? I thought home run. I
thought home run. I thought home run. I thought, and I'll give credit also to Gunther for selling fear that this man is probably going to come for his life. Because Gunther has been built as this unbeatable, undominable, just wall, right? This wrestling machine. And to see him show concern and worry that someone's not coming to wrestle him, someone's coming to beat the living crap out of him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if this match is made into some sort of no DQ street fight to kind of also hide Jay's lack of catch-as-catch-can abilities, because that seems to be what the IWC keeps complaining about. So if you want to make it a brawl or a no DQ, and that'll give it more oomph for Jay to just go ham, then I'm all for it. So Give me that. Give me no holds barred, pun unintended. Give me anything that has to do with just bringing Gunther down and beating him within an inch of his air quotes life. And what I'm afraid of is we do this and we're going to get a Triple H Booker T situation.
No, he still won't get the win.
And it's still creeping in my head. Now, maybe he'll snap a little bit too much, and that gives WWE the out to not give him the win at Mania, and then maybe they'll let him win at Backlash. That's actually my bigger worry, is to get people heated at Mania because Jay lost, like Cody lost to Roman, and then he'll get it at Backlash. Think back to when Goldberg lost in the Chamber, but he got it back. Like the next pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So that's
when the Chamber is when he should have. The crowd got so damn hot once he started running through everyone. It was like, no, this is it. Just go for it. Call the audible. Have him kill Triple H here. I remember watching that SummerSlam. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, this crowd suddenly is buying in to Goldberg like it's WCW again. Now's the time. Don't wait any damn longer.
And they did.
After that promo, I absolutely, yes, this is the time. Do not wait. Don't delay it. Don't be, well, John Cena's winning the title or something. We won't want to change them both on the same night. No, you're not going to have a bigger stage. I like the word you used for Gunther as of concern, because I like that Gunther didn't come across scared, but it was more a case of, oh, damn, I might have pushed this guy too far. What have I done?
Exactly.
Concern. And I think that's the perfect way to explain it, where it's like, he's still Gunther. He's still a monster, but having that little crack in the armor, a little bit of doubt in the back of my head, was like, oh, damn, I might have pushed this guy too far. I got to deal with that. Right. I say, oops, I did a bit too much. Put smearing Jimmy's blood all over me might have been a bit too much, Yeah, I think I like the idea of it. Hell, that night, what I said after that promo, I was like, God damn, they cannot do not run back that WrestleMania with Triple H and Orton where they come out and they go immediately do a lockup. This needs to be a fight. Do not run back that WrestleMania where they had the house invasion and then they start the match with a lockup. No. They need to come out there and it needs to be a brawl. If they lock up, it needs to turn into the old oh my God. Not Dan Severn, the other oh my God, who am I thinking
Ken Shamrock?
Not Ken Shamrock. Oh, the guy with the mustache. Oh my God, I'm picturing him in my damn head. Oh my God, it's killing me. Him and Takayama. Don Fry and Takayama, where they tied up and just started teeing off on each other to the head.
Yes.
Something like that. Where it's just immediately just like, oh, Fry Takayama spot. Something like that.
Okay.
But God. Jay and Gunther gonna be something. I say it's Jay's time.
I think so too. I think that if they don't do it now, they're never going to do it properly, because just imagine the merchandise alone. By the way, shout out to WWE merchandise for having a black Yeet sunglasses to signify how serious this situation is. No colorful, no, it was just straight up black and white. And I loved it. And I'll say this before we go to break. Jay's performance in this kind of reminded me that he might need to tap into the Uso Penitentiary vibe during this. Talk about if he had to cut another promo on Monday, you about to go to the Uso Penitentiary, locked down. Like, bring that back to remind Gunther that he's not to be played with.
I like it. I think you just wrote the go home promo right there. Uso Penitentiary. If it was out there in a cage match, it'd be perfect. There you go. All right, folks, there's what we're going to do. We are going to go to our halftime break. We went a little over in this first half, but that's okay. Talking WrestleMania season. There's lots going on. Lord knows I'm guessing next week's show will be all WrestleMania talk. The WrestleMania weekend start. So we will go to halftime. When we come back, we will talk about AEW Dynasty and the state of AEW, because there is kind of a tale of two worlds there, where folks like the undercard, but a lot of folks don't like that main event scene with those Death Riders. So we'll talk about that and who knows what else, folks, in our second half. Stay with us. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast will be back right after this.
Looking to get your brand in front of people who eat, sleep, and breathe entertainment? Big Gold Belt Media is the place to be. We're all about reporting on movies, TV shows, conventions, and everything in between. And we want your brand to be a part of the action. Partnering with us means your sponsorships get featured right in the midst of our content. Plus, we're going to hype you up on all of our social media, connecting you with an audience that loves discovering new things from trusted voices in entertainment. We're easy to find. Just look for us on Big Gold Belt on all your social media platforms. Don't wait, reach out today, and let's start building something amazing together. Your spotlight is waiting here at Big Gold Belt Media, biggoldbelt.com.
Thanks, folks, for being with us here tonight on your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast, Season 5, Episode 10, as we are on the road to WrestleMania. As we talked about WWE in the first half, and lots of WrestleMania talk, and Charlotte and all that stuff. Let's switch gears. Let's take a look at this past weekend with AEW Dynasty, and heck, we'll get in a bit more wider picture of the state of AEW, since, Damien, you said you saw Dynamite last night. I saw the opening of Dynamite, so I saw that. I can talk about that much. But you said that in our private chat here real quick just now. You're like, what are you thinking about AEW? We'll get into that because AEW is in a weird place right now, it seems. It's we've been talking about this for a while, that it seems like it's almost like there's a split.
Yeah.
You have like, it's reminded me a lot of WCW when Hogan had the title and you had the NWO on top, and it was like Hogan versus Piper and Hogan versus Savage, and like these main events that were the Hulk Hogan show, and, you know, interference, and just, you know, Hogan and Piper, age in a cage, and just, you know, these main events that were completely different than the undercard. Where on the undercard you had Diamond Dallas Page, Eddie Guerrero, He Who Cannot Be Named, Dean Malenko, Raven, all these guys, all your young guys putting on like totally different matches, a lot of action and stuff. And the undercard in AEW is like that. You got a lot of up and coming guys. What we got Speedball there now. Of course, the kids are all about Osprey and all this. And the main event scene is just Death Riders, Heat, interference. And it's like two totally different things. It doesn't feel like it doesn't all jive to me. I don't know. Looking at this Dynasty card, let me look at this here. What all happened last Saturday? Had that Mercedes and Julia match, which a lot of people were interested in. I think we talked about that one being like kind of like a sink or swim moment for Julia. They went 13 minutes.
Correct.
From what I was hearing, the crowd was all about Julia, and it didn't feel like the Julia, like we mentioned earlier, the sink or swim deal with B-Fab and Charlotte. So it kind of went like that. For like Julia just wasn't ready for 13 minutes, but the crowd was about her. But Mercedes advanced. That was women's Owen Cup tournament right there. Let's see what else on here. Timeless Tony and Megan Bayne. We were interested in that one. That one went 15 minutes. And of course, Tony retained. But Megan Bayne, her stock is rising slowly. So I think she's definitely got a future. But much like we were saying, you know, with the whole Mariah and Tony program having run its course, there's a spot for someone else in the mix now, and I got this feeling it seems like Mercedes and Athena is where they're going with, like, you know, the next, you know, the next challengers, the next thing. And I got a feeling Megan's gonna be on the back burner, even though she's like the shiny new toy. This gave me the feeling of like, well, we're gonna give her a little taste here. Tony's gonna beat her, and then now she's got to back of the line for a bit, get heated back up. I don't know. What's your feeling on Megan Bayne, as new as she is to the company?
So I was a fan of hers on the Indies. Okay. And you know me, women's wrestling's kind of been one of the things I'm passionate about watching and looking at the matches and such. Just the matches.
Of course.
I remember a match with her and Masha Slamovich. I don't know if it was Battle Club Pro or somewhere in the Northeast. But that match showed me, even though Masha might have carried her, I think this is pre-injury Megan Bayne too. It was a match that showed the audience that we know anyone's gonna market her, whatever promotion, they're gonna market her. But it showed me that there is something to be said about and I'll say it this way, so internet forgive me, the Haset, the female Haset character, right?
Okay.
And you said it best. She goes to the back of the line, which is what she should have done to start with. I think that's where they made the mistake, was pushing her to the title match too soon, to the sink or swim moment. I would have put her against Thunder Rosa. I would have put her against Willow. I would have put her against, or even the fodder. I don't know if Red Velvet's still there, or people like that, that could work a decent match while still getting Megan used to working in AEW, right? So the fact that we pushed her right to the match with Tony, she looked great for 95% of the match. She was pulling Brock Lesnar style. And then we lose to the big package, right? As Tony calls it. That was so anticlimactic. And I know what they were trying to do. Tony was on the ropes. She was struggling. She had no answers. And she pulled out a last ditch. It's like the surprise roll-up, right? Whenever a babyface is getting trounced, they use that as a means to say, you got lucky. And that's what Megan's pretty much saying, or Penelope yesterday in the promo, that she got lucky. But now we got the Women's Owen Hart Cup, and that's more interesting to me than right now the main event women's scene. Like you said, Mercedes and Athena, that has been a long time coming. I don't know if they've tangled in WWE when they were Sasha and Ember. I don't recall.
I don't think so.
But we talked about, why does Athena still have the ROH championship after all this time? This is a good reason to still have it. You can build another champion versus champion match for the Owen Hart finals, and that brings intrigue. So I will say this about the women's division. Not aside from they need more time, I do enjoy that we're getting looks at people who weren't getting looks before. Like Penelope Ford, she has been there from jump. The first press conference. And a lot of us followed her on the East Coast and knew she had, hold on one second. Traffic. Motorcycles outside my window. She had athleticism. She had the look. There was something with her. And I think her being partnered initially with Janela and then with Kip hurt her. So now that she's not doing that, and she gets to show in the ring, and even though there's no, what is it called? Crab's favorite shows that got discontinued. Dark and Elevation.
Oh, right.
So you can't advertise her as much now. But the fact that she stole some camera time a couple of weeks ago, and now she's the mouthpiece for the new big bad in AEW. I like that we're getting looks at other people. I like that we haven't forgot about Thunder Rosa, that she could actually work. People forget that. She's an actual good worker. The one part I don't like is the flip-flop of Chris Statlander. She had the beat-down fight with Willow, which she came victorious. And I think we talked about it. And 2 weeks later, we're buds again. No. So now they have her kind of acting heelish last night. And it's like, okay, so she's not a face. She is a heel, even though the crowd's cheering for her. And I say all this to say, the women's division of AEW has depth, but you got to be willing to use your players, which is why I hope we don't recycle any matches for Tony anytime soon. Make her a fighting champion to fight like whomever, the number 2 contender, the number 3 contender, like they do in boxing. Let her go up against the number 4 contender just to say shits and giggles, just to see what a match with this person would look like. And I'm grateful that they had great matches at Dynasty. I'm grateful that last night we had an Owen Cup match that was good. And I'm grateful that the women's division is going in a positive direction. So I'll say that for that. And if you want me to keep going about Megan Bayne, I will. It's just not her time. It's just not time. Put it back in the oven, let her heat up, and then pull the cake out. That's simple.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It was too quick to get her a title match that she just didn't need.
Correct.
There's definitely, if they needed a challenger for Tony Storm, I'm sure there's other people you need to feed someone to Tony. There's plenty of people you could feed to Tony to not have her, drop the title yet, to keep her, to have her make an appearance on the show and having her beat the big new thing right away. Nah, I'm with you on that one. It should have been built up differently. That was a match for down the road. We didn't need that quite yet. This should have been the time of building up Megan slowly for later this year. And at this point, they're probably going to go to that, but we're going to have she already had a title match and got beat. So I don't know. We'll see where that all goes. Let's talk about this, the main event. And how that, because this is we're talking about the Hogan NWO style deal. Swerve and Jon Moxley. Crab is not here tonight to be able to go off on Jon Moxley. So this Death Riders thing that's been going on for months, the white t-shirt gang, with tons of interference in this match, and the darn we brought back the ECW deal. The lights went out. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Swerve is on his way. The crowd's getting behind him. It looks like it might be Swerve's house. It might be Swerve's moment in Philadelphia. And then the lights go out. And who returns but the EVPs, the Young Bucks? The Bucks return. They got Swerve by each arm. They give him the double knee. Take him out. Mox gets his win. And it's like, okay, they weren't aligned with the Death Riders before, but hell, last we saw them, they were running off into the night and shredding documents, apparently, and all this stuff. They were leaving in fear because the Death Riders were too dangerous.
Right.
And then we get to tomorrow night, last night, with this promo they opened the show with the Bucks and their just weird energy. I'm sorry. It's 2025, and I will always describe it as awkward youth pastor energy. Those boys are they are very odd. They've always come across very strange on TV and just not comfortable in their own skin for some reason. And they're trying to do this heel promo. They're trying the whole, we're the founding fathers, blah, blah, blah. We didn't forget about Hangman. He's still our guy. He's still our friend. So we had to make sure, Swerve wasn't going to get this win. And then Kenny Omega comes out and he gets involved. You guys ran off, and that weird, the weird, what was it about the dogs? The compared them to what it was a very WWE sounding promo. What did he compare them, like yapping chihuahuas or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was a very odd promo. That everyone, it didn't feel like people were really speaking in their own voice. If we got writers in AEW now, which I wouldn't be shocked if there's some.
You do?
Some I
couldn't tell.
So between the promos on both sides there last night, it felt really weird. So I kind of get the feeling some stuff is being written for some days, or if not, people are working with people trying to come up with stuff to say, and it's not jiving because everyone involved in that segment, I was just like, what? The Death Rider shit ain't working. I ain't interested in seeing the Bucks involved. And I see people say, well, what's going to happen now? They're going to do Swerve and Hangman. They're going to, they're going to team up. It'll be them against the Bucks. 2025, man. I ain't looking to watch the Young Bucks in 2025. That's just me. But I don't know. I guess their audience is into that. I don't know. What's your thoughts on the Bucks getting involved in this main event?
Okay. They could have just said, we did it for Hangman. Mm-hmm. That would have been enough. That would have been, just leave it at that, because that's believable. Because remember, 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, Swerve and Hangman yelling at each other through security. I messed up. I'm sorry. I know. It's like, okay.
Right, that whole deal.
Yeah, that whole deal. But for the Bucks to come back and do what they did, that's the only logical reason, storyline-wise, to say we did it for Hangman. Like their version of we did it for The Rock. We did it for Hangman. And you could have left it there, and you could build from that. But there's a thing about the Bucks that I have not liked going all the way back to 2015. There's just something about them. And remember, I used to cover a lot of indie shows way back then, and they've never clicked with me, ever. It's just in ring, cool, but when they start talking, I don't want to listen. There's just something about them, as you said. it's almost forced character development. We just want to be schmarmy, but at the same time, we're good boys outside of here. So they don't really know how to be heels in a way, right? They just know they know how to be dorks, but they don't know how to be heels. So adding them to this, I think it just makes everything more convoluted because now you have multiple angles that non-AEW diehards hate. You got the Death Riders, who, if this, I made the joke the other day, if this is a vehicle to get Marina Shafir into the next stratosphere, then then it's not worth it. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm tired of them. I was a Dean Ambrose guy when we all were talking back in 2018. I was a Dean Ambrose guy. I've been a Mox guy going back to CZW. This ain't it, Chief. Like, this feels like I'm just carrying the title because we need me in the front because there's nobody else to step up for ratings, air quotes for ratings. I think they should have pulled the plug on the Death Riders a long time ago. Because remember, we were saying, is it Shane McMahon? Is it some other power authority that's in control of them? And now I don't even care. Now you could literally say it's Vince McMahon, and I wouldn't give two, you know what. So you have the Death Riders, who I can't stand. Now you got the Bucks, who I could never stand, and now we're gonna force a Kenny and shoot, my name, I'm blanking here.
Okada. They had him in Okada, yeah.
We're forcing that with a mid-card title, and over here, the most over guy, in my opinion, in AEW, Swerve, is now going to do the reluctant tag team partner potentially. Come on, man. See, this is what happens. I tune in for the first time in months, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Who wrote this trash? And it's just not it for me, Will. I don't know what they can do aside from the diehards to branch out, because we're always talking about getting new audience members, right? Bringing in new viewers. What do you got? The Bucks still doing their shtick from 2015? Kenny and Okada rehashing 2016? People weren't even watching wrestling back then.
They are still, I mean, everything you're talking about, it's still that whole, let's run back mid-2010s PWG. Let's run back mid-2010s New Japan.
Yep.
And it's a decade later now. All these guys got more miles on them. They're all banged up. If I want to see Okada and Omega, I can pull that up from when they did it the first time. We saw it multiple times in New Japan when they were younger and could go. Lord knows Okada ain't moving like that these days.
No.
Lord knows. I'm not looking to rehash the 2010s. And that seems to be where we're headed right now. It's I don't.
And I would like an AEW fan, like a legitimate AEW watcher, to tell me what they think. And you can say it in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or on Twitch, what they think the plan is here for everybody. Like, why should new viewers keep checking in?
Are we still holding out for Darby to come back off the mountain and win the title?
I don't even care about that either.
Yeah. It's like, who is going to take this damn belt off Moxley and put an end to this thing? Because it's just dying a death right now.
Pun unintended. It's dying a death.
I mean, we just did Swerve. I guess there's a lot of people probably want it to be Hangman at this point. There's still the Darby thing out there, but it's just, it hasn't worked from the jump.
Nope.
And now here it is months later, and it's still just like, we've said this before. Tony seems to just he has like his idea, and he's dead set on deviating from
stubbornness.
You know, couldn't put the title on old Harley Cameron getting white hot and down Australia.
Howard.
Couldn't do that. And where is she now? Just that momentum just evaporated. So it's like when you got something, when something isn't clicking out, like we're talking about with the Charlotte Tiffany thing on, if something isn't working, you got to make a change. But I don't know.
Like even now, like we're talking it out, and there's still in my opinion, no real exit plan here, because who else would there be to put in that position? Osprey's busy doing Osprey things, which is fine. But then who? because Joe now is going to go for the Trios Championship because I thought, okay, maybe we can get Mox and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
But now Joe's going to go for the Trios. Win. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm at a loss. We'll have to keep an eye on it and just see where they're going to be held. They're building to a stadium show in July, so that is
in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
A whole week in Texas.
Well, hell, I mean, it's gonna be South because like what Double or Nothing is in Arizona, I think. That's at the end of May, and then the next show will be the big stadium show. Yep. So they're not doing Double or Nothing in Vegas because of Mania. They moved it out of Vegas, fine.
Correct.
So, yeah, we got the May show, and then we got the big stadium. So, where this is all, I don't know. And I'm at a loss with the Jacksonville wrestling. Enough about Jacksonville wrestling.
Jacksonville wrestling.
We got 5 minutes left. What you want to get into? We got 5 minutes.
Oh no, okay, but before we jump off, you brought up a good point that I didn't think about. I didn't think about maybe they're teasing this out for the stadium show. That they're really planting those seeds. I didn't even think that far ahead. So thank you for that. But then if they're doing that, why are you? It's like the WrestleMania build from Rumble. Why are you making us go through this malaise to get to your perceived or your endpoint that you want, whatever it is? Maybe that's when we get who runs the Death Riders or what their whole point is beside wearing t-shirts. The fact that Wheeler Yuta is the most interesting person in the Death Riders is tells me enough right there. But if the plan is to do something big at the stadium show, what in the world are you doing from A to B? That's not going to make people want to see your programming. You appeal to a niche, right? Let's just say like PWG. You appeal to a niche. Haven't you ever thought, hey, I'm on a network now. Maybe I need to do something better to draw in new fans and not rehash the same thing we've been running since the inception, or even going back to the show that was pre-AEW. The one was All Out in Vegas. Mm-hmm. When was it? When was the original show? Beforehand, before it became AEW.
Oh, All In?
All In.
That was, that was All In. That was... No, it's the stadium one. No, wait, we have the stadium one was the Wembley one. We want the original. The original
pre-AEW.
2018 is when All In happened. September 1st, one in Chicago. The Sears Center. Yes.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And I was there, and I loved it.
The proof of concept show, the pilot, if you will.
Correct. The -1 show. That's a great way to say it. But if we're still using the memories of that pay-per-view and the inception of AEW, where the hell are we going? We're just running on the treadmill like the Flash, and we're going nowhere. So, Tony, remember when we talked about when the TV deal happened, and we brought up the option year, and we said that option year is going to dangle over Tony for a while, because if I'm TNT, if I'm TBS and all them, I'm putting pressure on Tony saying, hey, option year, you're not showing me anything because the tea leaves aren't hitting. So what are we doing here? So I really want to see going forward, what's the plan going forward? Because we're blinking, it's over, and the 4 years going to come up, and it's like, well, we're still here. We're still talking about the same thing, Will, we did a year ago about AEW. And as much as Crab has tried to defend them, no, just no.
I mean, they got their new TV deal. They're on Max. They still ain't got the pay-per-views on there or nothing. So that's a whole nother factor for the whole dangling of, we're going to have the discounted pay-per-views on there. I mean, I keep going, I want a different direction. I want something different. I want how we were talking, we brought it up about, at the beginning, it was like the faces that were, there at the beginning, your Omegas, your Bucks and all them, there's help. They're all back now. And it's like, I want that next level of people as the face of the company. And Laura knows I don't need, we've got the damn ROH title off of Jericho. Thank God.
Thank God.
Edge is cope. So it's just like, I want something different. But it just does not seem like we are moving in any kind of different direction. You know?
We're not. And based on yesterday's Dynamite, I'm convinced we're not really moving in any pertinent directions.
I guess at this point, we wait and see what happens after the stadium show. Because clearly that's just going to be, the next chapter and stuff. Or come the summer, they'll blow some stuff off and take things in a different direction after that. I don't know. All right, we're at our hour. We did it. We made it through the night. All right, folks. Thursdays, 8 p.m., your Big Old Belt Wrestling podcast is live each and every week. And next Thursday, my God, this will be a big one because it will be WrestleMania weekend. So I'm sure we'll probably be talking WrestleMania, the surrounding events, and all that stuff next week right here. So you're definitely going to want to tune in as we get you ready for WrestleMania in Vegas because next weekend's the big week. We're almost there. It's been a long damn build, like we said at the beginning of the show from the Rumble. So we got a lot to talk about next week. So we'll see how much of the crew shows up here next week to talk about all that. So in the meantime, let me break down all the stuff here. Streaming live each and every Thursday night on YouTube, here on X, on Twitch, you name it. We got the live stream after we go live. The stream lives on in video form on YouTube, so you can always check it out at the Big Gold Belt Media YouTube. And of course, in podcast form later on, if you're looking for audio, we drop the show in podcast form on all your favorite podcast platforms. So audio and video, we got you covered both ways. On social media, it's at Big Gold Belt across the board. X, Blue Sky, Instagram, all that stuff. Big Gold Belt is where you can find us. And of course, on the web, BigGoldBelt.com, the home of Big Gold Belt Media, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. Last week was a huge week with CinemaCon, so lots of coverage of CinemaCon all over the site with all the trailers that dropped for all that. So since I got you here this week, Damian, what we got? I know we got a Last of Us is dropping this weekend. That is coming out, and it's got to be. When does Andor hit? Andor's about to hit, right?
Is it? I thought it was a couple weeks away, but
a couple weeks away. I thought it was April.
Huh.
That's coming. I know. Last of Us is this weekend for sure.
So I will tell the audience, if you want to take something in, take in Devil May Cry on Netflix. If you haven't seen it by now, not the old 2007 anime. They have made a completely different anime, taking concepts of the story, specifically Devil May Cry 3, and melded it with the original game in the first place. And from what I've seen, the action's great. Spoiler for y'all, real quick. The intro music and scene is Rolling by Limp Bizkit. So all you old Dead Man Walking Taker fans would love that. The action set pieces are really good. And this might be the last performance of the late Kevin Conroy. He plays the vice president in this show. So this may have been the last thing that will be his original works. So for that alone, tune in. And he's playing a villain. So you might want to go check that out. So Netflix, Devil May Cry, it's 8 episodes. They're about 30 minutes each. I binged it. We have a review up on the channel if you want to check that out.
There you go.
I have my feelings about it, but I'll say that a different day. But go check it out. Netflix, 8 episodes, Devil May Cry. Enjoy it, because anime fiends out there will probably just be jumping up and down, because my nephew texted me the minute he watched it and he was ecstatic. So there you go.
There you go. Check out the Devil May Cry feature here at Big Gold Belt Media. Like we said, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. So giving you some other stuff to check out, because you shouldn't just watch wrestling for the next week. Even if it is the biggest week of the year in wrestling, break it up with some other stuff. We see too many of y'all folks online that apparently do nothing but wrestling 24/7, and that's not good for your brain. No. That's not good. Take it from us older folks that have been watching this stuff entirely too damn long. You gotta watch some other stuff than just wrestling, people. Please, I'm begging you. All right, next Thursday night we will be back. We hope you're here with us as we kick off WrestleMania weekend. So until then, hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff that you do on the social media to know when we're broadcasting. And we will see you next week, folks. Until then, stay safe, and we will talk to you later.